Hey everybody, my name is John Parker, aircraft counselor at Lifestyle Aviation. I'm standing out here on the tarmac at Oxford Henderson Executive Airport in north central North Carolina on a freezing cold and windy morning to bring you a comparison video of the most important category in general aviation, 4-seat piston single aircraft. And today we have the legendary Cessna 172 Skyhawk and the new best kept secret in general aviation, the Tecnam P2010. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the history, the construction, the performance, the capabilities, and the overall mission of these aircraft so you can walk away and decide which one's better for your mission. Before we get started here, let's talk about the 172. It was designed back in the 1950s, and it is the most produced aircraft, and over 40,000 of them have been built. There's no more iconic piece of equipment when it comes to flight training and general aviation than the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. If I were to walk into a room of 10 pilots, at least 9 of them have flown a 172 at some point along their career. There is no question that the Cessna 172 Skyhawk has earned its place in the Aviation Hall of Fame. On the other hand, here we have the Tecnam P2010, designed in a completely different era, a modern era. If you're not a pilot, you may look at these two aircraft and think, what's the difference? They look about the same. But we're going to get into the meat about what makes these two things different. What changed in the 60 years between the design of the 172 and the 2010? Let's start with the biggest thing first. How are these airplanes similar? Well, they look alike. They both feature the high strutted wing design. They're both single engine, 4-place aircraft, and they both have the same engine option in the Lycoming IO 360 without the constant speed prop. Let's take a closer look here at the 172. The entire body of this airplane is made out of sheet metal. Not just any sheet metal, this is aluminum. This was a wonder metal at the time, back in the 50s, and it is the material that made general aviation, or aviation in general, practical. Tecnam, on the other hand, chose to use a more modern design, integrating the use of carbon fiber into the composite construction of the fuselage. Why did they use carbon fiber? Well, carbon fiber has a couple advantages over aluminum. Number one, it's stronger. It has a higher strength to weight ratio than metal. It can be molded into complex shapes, and it's extremely corrosion resistant. The Tecnam P2010 has a composite fuselage design, but the wings are aluminum. This is designed for durability and for ease of replacement and repair, just in case you get a little bit of hanger rash in your operations. What all of this means is at the end of the day, you get a stronger, sleeker, more aerodynamic, and more efficient aircraft. Another thing to notice when looking at the airplane is the location of the wings in relation to the pilot. In the Tecnam, it is further aft. That gives you a lot more visibility, practically speaking, in the pattern when you're making those turns so you can see the runway. So let's talk about the power plants of these aircraft. We have today an older 172, but the modern versions, the R and the S version, are powered by the reliable Lycoming IO 360 power plant. This is a 180 horsepower engine, and it is probably the most common engine in general aviation today. This particular P2010 is also powered by a Lycoming IO 360 engine. So now with the same power plants, you might expect these two planes to perform about the same. However, that's not exactly the case. It's more about how the airframe uses this energy that really sets them apart. The 172 delivers performance that's very much in line with what its pilots expect. Its max cruise speed sits comfortably around about 120 knots true, and the climb rate is a modest 700 feet per minute. It has a useful load of 878 pounds and the ability to carry that load roughly 600 miles. It's a plane that prefers to be flown slow and smooth. It's forgiving and stable, and you don't feel rushed when you're flying it. The P2010, using the exact same horsepower, manages to squeeze out a little bit more efficiency. Thanks to its cleaner aerodynamics, lighter composite fuselage, and wing design, it can reach cruise speeds closer to the mid-130s true and climb rate closer to 800 feet per minute. Neither are a rocket by any means, but the P2010 has a little bit more of that get up and go. Similar to the 172, the P2010 has a useful of approximately 880 pounds, with it being able to carry its load closer to 700 miles. And it may not sound like much, but over the course of a couple hundred miles, those little differences add up. Obviously, it goes without saying that these performance numbers are dependent on spec and usage. One of the biggest differences in terms of performance and flight characteristics that they changed from the 172 to the 2010 is the wing design. Let's take a look at this wing on the 172. It's got a big, thick, fat leading edge and the 1950s NACA design airfoil. This is designed to produce a bunch of lift at low speeds. But then in flight, the profile of this wing creates a lot of parasitic drag as your speed increases. If you look at the wing design in the P2010, you can see it's much more symmetric. It doesn't have that fat front at the hump, and that's designed to maximize laminar flow over the wings during flight. You trade a little bit of takeoff distance, but what does that buy you? That buys you about 15 knot increase in cruising speed. The place you're actually going to notice the biggest difference is in the cockpit. Both of these planes feature Garmin avionics, yoke-style controls, and seating for 4. But where they really stand apart is the way the manufacturer approaches the interior design. Sitting in the 172, you'll notice a utilitarian design that gets the job done well. However, moving up to the P2010, you have an interior that's more like what we're used to seeing in the automotive industry. The Italians are famous for designing some of the most beautiful cars in the world, and Tecnam extends this premium design philosophy into aviation. It's a very comfortable, roomy airplane. It's got plenty of places to put your things like your iPhone, iPad. They designed this airplane to be flown by actual people. And you know what that means if you're a big dude like me. And if you're looking for even more interior styling and design, the Tecnam offers the Grand Lusso. It features hand-stitched leather seating, upholstery. It looks like you're driving around in a Bugatti or something. It also features a flight management control panel that makes the use of the MFD even easier. For all intents and purposes, these aircraft are functionally identical in terms of avionics and controls. But there are two distinct differences that really change the feel and handling of these aircraft. First off, the 172 uses your classic push-pull style throttle and mixture controls, while the Tecnam uses the modern lever style controls for the throttle and the mixture. The second difference here is the flight controls in the 172 are controlled with a system of cables and pulleys. Modern aircraft like the 2010 have gone to a pushrod control, which gives you a more firm, better feedback during flight. They're also cheaper to maintain. My favorite feature of this aircraft, flying it around a little bit, is electronic rudder trim, which is operated by a button right here below your trim wheel. And this is a critical feature on these high-wing aircraft, as a lot of yaw input is necessary when you're translating between climb to cruise to a descent. And you're not caught in a situation where you feel like you're driving a car around without cruise control. Now that we know how these aircraft compare, the only question is, how much do they cost and how much do they cost to operate? We all know that especially since COVID, costs have just been going up and up and up in all of aviation, and the industry is not immune to inflation either. If you're in the market for a Cessna 172, if you want to buy something new, the market's somewhere around $675,000 to $700,000 with a waiting list. Now, if you want a new P2010, on the other hand, it starts around $680,000. And don't tell anyone, but this one right here is available right now today. So the used market's a little bit of a different story. For the 172, as we mentioned, there are 40,000 of them produced, so they are quite available. You can get a nice new one for around $400,000 if you're looking for the modern avionics. But you can get a 1950s version and around $200,000, and you can even find some that are less than $100,000. The 2010's a little bit of a different story. as they've only been produced in this country for a limited amount of time. However, you can get a solid used aircraft for around $450,000. But that may change soon as more people learn how awesome this airplane actually is. When you zoom out and take a look at how these aircraft can actually be used, the differences make a lot of sense. The 172 continues to excel as a trainer and a general utility aircraft. With the P2010, Tecnam took what worked and made it better. It is bigger, it is faster, it is built from safer, stronger materials, and it is much more comfortable. So since this video is about which airplane is actually better, it would be a cop-out if we didn't pick one. Based on everything we've talked about today, we got to give the trophy to the P2010. It's designed for pilots who are looking for a little bit more comfort, a little bit more efficiency, a little bit more speed and carrying capability, but still love that high wing design. The P2010 is essentially the spiritual successor to the Cessna 172. Ultimately, the best airplane for you is the airplane that best fits your specific mission. But let us know what you think in the comments. And hey, if you learned something or you like this video, consider hitting the like or subscribe button for more aviation content just like this.